nice to you, then you need to worry.
I know, that's the thing.
That's
yeah,
it,
that's the thing.
That's it.
Frightens me to death down the town.
Stop for about 5 minutes, it's just going to go shuffling away from me.
And I look round. Oh, I said, it's you.
Because I'm going to get arrested.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
rephrase that. I'm going to get arrested again one
Yeah,
day.
that's right, yes. I wouldn't ask any of this lot for a character reference, though. You know.
There's something in the trolley.
Ready?
But, yeah, after that, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Wonderful, warm welcome to everybody here today. Thank you for coming along today. We've got a brilliant service for you. Andy Ford from Salisbury. Andy, hello and welcome.
Nice to see you again.
And this will be a Lyceum service, so where we would normally have the philosophical part, that will be replaced today with a little bit of history about spiritualism, because there's so much wealth in our religion, way of life, whatever you want to call it, and we can always talk about it, and it's interesting to hear of why we are here today, what enabled this to be able to worship and be open in this way today's world. So, thank you, Andy. We're looking forward to that.
Thank you.
Big warm welcome too to everybody watching us online. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Without further ado, Andy, if I may invite you for the opening blessing.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like to come into the quiet? Just gently close your eyes. So we say, "Oh great Spirit, we thank you for this opportunity to come together, to actually be with those of like minds, to be able to enjoy your company, whether you come to actually just have a little chat with us or just to be in the energies with us. We do thank you for this. And we do know at this time that it's nice to have that respite from life, because there's so much going on within not only our country but around this world as well. So we do need you to be with us. So in that case, we leave it for you to be able to control this lovely, lovely service and bring it in love, light and upliftment, and hopefully a bit of laughter as well. So God bless us all. Thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Andy. And now, if you care to, please join in with saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thine will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And leave us not when in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you. And we now bring our hearts, our minds, our focus, our very intent into the art of healing. Healing, as I will always remind you, is available to everybody, because healing is just an expression of love. It's sending out that love vibration to people that we know, people across the world, the environment, the animal kingdom. It matters not. You follow where your heart leads you. During this time, we're being accompanied by some gentle music. And we also invite you to, please, if there is somebody you know at this time who is in need of mentioning, simply raise your hand. When I point to you, just call out their name. That is all that is required. The intelligence of spirit know the needs and will act accordingly. So just make yourselves comfortable now, just for this short time. God bless you all. Divine and eternal Spirit, that whom we know as God, we thank you for this time of healing. And we know that our thoughts, our prayers, our petitions, our very energy has gone forth to do its work wherever we have sent this thought, working in accordance with the divine plan for all things. Amen.
Amen.
Now I'd like to invite Andy for his Lyceum part of the service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, that's nice. You've got a voice. It's good. I like voices. I must admit it was so lovely as I sat there because I was aware of the bird that was singing along at the same time. And it was almost like, yes, nature's joining us in with our thoughts as well, you know. And it was also interesting the fact that what a part of the Lyceum talk I want to do today, funny enough, is about healing. Because I think, unfortunately, healing's become a bit like the sort of the second sort of bad cousin, really. You know, it doesn't get as much, I think, sort of respect as what they call mental mediumship these days. And the fact is, I think that's a great shame because there's going to be a little bit of things I'm going to read from a little bit of books I've got here with me. To almost sort of show you, actually, you know, the power that there is still, and there can be, within healing. Because we've had some great healers within our movement of the past. And I'm getting old these days, so I need notes. You know. Hopefully my eyesight doesn't fail and I can read them, that's the thing. But the fact is, what I wanted to just start off with, again, is just this reading from this book called Best of Both Worlds. It's from a book about the gentleman medium called Albert Best. Albert's one of my favourite mediums. I love to find out about him. He was an Irishman that moved to Glasgow, and they say his combination of his Irish Glaswegian accent was interesting, you know. And he was actually known as the man of names and numbers. The reason being is he used to work for the post office, so his mind was attuned to all this, and he used to bring through some amazing evidence through that. But when I was looking through my books, then I found this actual piece about Albert and his healing. A businessman who lived near Glasgow and who had retired from business in 1959 after a heart attack decided one evening to go to a spiritist meeting in Troon. He was directed by the spirit world to provide a room in his property for healing purposes. He was very impressed by Albert Best and asked him to give up his job in the post office and work as his groundsman and a full-time healer, and a flat was acquired in Mount Florida, Glasgow, and he went to the house regularly to work and to heal. In 1965 the house caught fire, and although the brickwork was burnt on both sides, the healing sanctuary remained untouched. The firemen couldn't understand this because there was a strong wind that day, and while the flames shot up to the door of the sanctuary, they did not penetrate the room. A hut in the grounds was used temporarily, and then a new sanctuary in Thornhill, a quarter mile away, was opened, and the curtains from the original sanctuary were transferred there. And it's a bit like, ooh, again, the power of the spirit world. The healing sanctuary, the healing part of that building was not touched. And as I said, the firemen could not understand how this happened. It should not have happened. But the energy in that room, I believe, is the thing that kept it safe. Because it was used within, as I said, the aspects of healing. There's another lovely story of Albert. But as I said, he's best known, I think, really for his what I call his mental mediumship, his demonstrations. But again, looking at him, he went over to Gibraltar, and he was being filmed by a crew over there, and he was doing trance healing, where obviously he allows the spirit world to draw close. And he usually gets his mind as much out of the way as he can to allow them to do their work. They said he went into trance as his client came through the door, and she was an Oriental lady. And suddenly, Albert was talking to her in her own dialect. And they said, well, if you knew you knew Albert, you know that actually there's no way that he knew that sort of dialect. As I said before, you know, he was bad enough with English, with his Glaswegian Irish accent. But the spirit world knew. And again, the power to me of the spirit world, to me is amazing. And I think one of the best known healers, if you look around our history, was a gentleman called Harry Edwards. I don't know if you've ever heard of Harry Edwards. But he became a spiritualist healer because he went along, he was sort of, you know, he went along to a service, a spiritual service, felt as if he should go. And he was told from the platform that his pathway was to be a spiritual healer. It really was. So he took up the challenge, and that was his pathway. He would also do not only what we would call spiritual healing, but he would do the essence of trance healing as well, depending on how the spirit world wished to actually use him. Over the years then, his reputation grew. It grew not only within this country, but also to abroad as well. And he was well sought after for his healing. He started out, as I said, in the first stages of his healing, using a room in his house. But as I said, unfortunately, again, as things grew, then he had to then move to Stoneleigh and Surrey, where he could work out of a bigger room. And of course, as you can imagine, things didn't stop there. Because again, because he drew more and more people to him, looking for the healing energy, then he and his family moved, and the sanctuary, to Burrows-Lee. That's where they created in this very large house that had massive gardens and a wood very near enough attached to it. And it became the Harry Edwards Healing Sanctuary. And actually this healing sanctuary is still going now, even after his death. I would imagine, hopefully, they're now doing it, because obviously COVID then restricted lots of things, didn't it, really? That they have their open days there, where you can actually go and visit the sanctuary, but they could still continue the great work of carrying on his healing. When Harry Edwards was actually working, then he would actually receive something like 10,000 letters a week requesting actual sort of thoughts to be sent, healing thoughts to be sent. That's quite a lot. But again, as said, it was his beautiful, beautiful reputation that brought this in. You know, he was also not only a great hands-on healer, he was a great distance healer as well. And again, as I went to look for dates, because as I said, you know, I don't always remember dates, that's why they're written down. In 1948, he demoed his healing in Manchester to 6,000 people. Then in 1951, in September of that year, he actually then did a demo again to about 6,000 people in the Royal Festival Hall. You know, that's people just coming to see a demonstration of healing. The sad thing is these days, if I looked up and said I was going to put on a demonstration of healing, how many people would come? And I think that's very sad that we've got to that stage where, as I said, we're not looking at healing in a way that I think it should be, you know, looked at. In 1954, he became the president of the National Federation of Spiritualist Healers. He was the first president of them, and they're still going today, the NFSH. And you can still see, you can still, as I said, join them, and you can still apply to be a healer through that organisation. In 1953, though, that Harry went along to the Archbishop's it was a gathering to look at healing from the church's point of view. He went along and actually presented healing documentation of the success, and all from that point of view, because it was, as I said, it was all documented. It was all backed up by people saying the benefit from what they've received. But as you can imagine, the final report, which I know was never sent to him, but they do know that actually that they, unfortunately, the church then said, oh, there's nothing in this spiritual healing stuff. And that, to me, is a great shame again, that that was not embraced. It's because it helps so many people. There's going to be, I'm just going to read you a couple of short stories that are about Harry and his healing, which I think again further demonstrates the power of spiritual healing. This one is about a skeptic who came along to one of the demonstrations of Harry Edwards' healing. In one of Harry Edwards' early public demonstrations, after Morris Barbanel had given a short address, Edwards told the assembled throng that he was the medium for a spirit power which was able to help sufferers. He would then asked for volunteers for healing, particularly those that the doctors could not help. In The Power of the Spirit, Barbanel tells us, there was no attempt to induce religious fever, mass hysteria or emotionalism of any kind. No lights were lowered, no spotlights were used, no hymns were sung. Yet in every case, he was able to show an improvement that was so dramatic and remarkable. Edwards then asked if there was anybody in the audience who was sceptical about the healing. A young man responded and was asked to join Edwards on the platform, who he then told the surprised skeptic, well then, you're going to help me heal this woman. This was a severe case of curvature of the spine, and Edwards placed the young man's hands on the spine to feel the displacement. When he had satisfied himself about the extent of the curvature of the patient's spine, Edwards placed one hand over the skeptic's hands and the other arm around the patient, and in a few seconds the spine was straightened. Edwards then asked the skeptic, are you satisfied there was no more curvature? The skeptic replied that he was, and Edwards told him that he too could be a healer. Barbanel says that the young man later told him that he'd gone to the demonstration out of curiosity, but he was going to strive to develop the healing gifts so he could help others. And there's another report here. At a demonstration in Cambridge Guildhall, Edwards had given healing to a 4-year-old Philip Goodliff, who, being crippled by polio, had been carried onto the platform by his mother. A minute after receiving healing, the child, after discarding his leg arm, was romping around in front of the hall and creating such a disturbance that his mother had to remove his shoes. However, the orthopaedic surgeon who had treated the boy, Mr. Noel Smith, despite the fact that the child could now walk, declared that the treatment for the infantile paralysis should be on a scientific and proved lines. Just a couple of examples of the healing that came through Harry. He is not just the only one out there that you can find these amazing stories of, that is our past, our history. It is said that Harry attended a dinner party and one of the ladies opposite him had a growth on her neck. And they said that within sort of mid-conversation, Harry just leant across, stroked the neck, and it disappeared. And he then carried on talking. There are so many amazing things, as I said, out there about our past of healing. And it's a great shame, as I said, that, you know, we're not filling rooms with demonstrations anymore. It is the power, as I said, that should be accepted, being on a par, as I said, with every other form of mediumship. Now it's interesting because I look back at my books, you know, I'm obviously looking at the past. And it was a bit like, wow, you know, it would be nice to sort of talk about somebody of the present as well, because, you know, our history is ever moving forward. There's a gentleman out there that I'd seen, and I mentioned him because I'm not so sure how many people would have heard of this man. He's a psychic surgeon called Stephen Choroff. Now I remember seeing a demonstration many years ago. It was at the in those days we used to have what they used to call the Cavalcade of Mediums, run by the SAGB in London. It was a day when they got all the mediums together, and we had, you know, lovely demonstrations one after another. And just before the break, Stephen Choroff came on stage and said that he's been told by the spirit world that he needs to see somebody. There's this lady in the audience that he needs to see. So he gave out some evidence, and he's saying, you know, right, which one of you ladies is actually gonna, you know, which one are you gonna put your hand up? And this hall is massive, nothing. A little bit more evidence, nobody's responding. And he's saying, right, he said, the spirit world have had enough of this. What they're gonna do is, right, ladies, get your handbags open, look inside your handbags. You will either have a post office book or a bank book, and this is the number that's on it. And when you find out who it is, you come and see me in the break, because you need to come up here. And during the break, a lady came to see him. The number that he'd given was exactly what he said it was. The spirit world got her, because he needed to do the healing on her. He then demonstrated the healing aspect in front of us all. And you think that again, the power of the spirit world. But there was another story actually there was a gentleman I was speaking to one day, and he said, he was driving a friend of Stephen's up to see him. He said to me, I didn't believe in this psychic surgeon stuff. He said, it's a bit fanciful, isn't it? He said, I didn't believe. But he said, I was doing this guy a favour, because he said, we were friends, and he needed a lift up to see Stephen, so he walked in. And he said Stephen was already in the trance state, and Stephen's guide is a doctor called Dr. Khan. Now the interesting thing is, and I've seen this, that when he goes into trance, he grows. Suddenly you can see that actually his cuffs are starting to come up. The bottoms of his trousers start to come up, because the energy is bigger than what Stephen is. It's a strange thing to say, but I've seen it done. So suddenly his clothes don't quite fit. So he's got this lovely German doctor that is. And obviously then when they walked in, Dr. Khan, through Stephen, looked at this gentleman and said, "You're not a believer, are you?" And the bloke said, "No, not really." He said, "You think this is a load of rubbish, don't you, sir?" He said, "Actually, I do." He said, "Would you be open to an experience?" And he said, "Well, yes." He said, "Well, come here. We have a patient on the table at the moment." And he said, he didn't believe this, he said, but what happened was, he said, through Dr. Khan and Stephen, they dematerialized the eye. Dr. Khan got over his finger, shoved it in the hole, moved it around, brought it back out again, and rematerialized the eye. And he said, "Now do you believe?" He said, "Well, yeah, I do now." And it's interesting because, as I said, this gentleman was not one for making up stories, but you could tell that he was quite shocked by his experience. There are many things, again, online where you can hear about people saying the benefit that they get, that they've received from Dr. Khan through Stephen. But there are, as I said, there are many other healers doing great work out there, and have been. But there was also a lovely story that in the healing sanctuary that Dr. Khan was working, and somebody had actually brought their dog along, but they were out in the garden with it, and this dog would not stop barking. It was quite a big dog, and it had quite big lungs on it as well. So it was giving it some good stuff. So Dr. Con went out to the garden, walked over to the dog, looked at the dog, tapped him gently on the head, said, "Sleep." The dog laid down, went to sleep. He went back in. When it was time to go, Dr. Con went back out, looked at the dog and says, "Wake up." And the dog got back up again. There are, as I said, there are beautiful stories out there. And it's one of those sort of things, as I said, that I don't want the healing to take second place anymore. I want it up there where it should be, and given the credit and the respect it should receive. So that's why today, I just spoke about a few of these people that are healers. Some of the past, one of the present. And again, if you look and find and seek, you will see many, many things. There are great evidence out there of the power that healing has brought and is still bringing. Although again, it's not sort of shouted about that much, which in one way is great shame. But today, as I said, I thought I might have a little chat about it. So, I promise if you nod off, I won't dematerialise your eye on you, right?
Sleep.
He might. But thank you for that, and bless you all. Thank you.
Andy, lovely, thank you. And I'm sure you're aware that healing has a very big prominence here at Paul Church. And there's a number of our church registered healers who have sat there glued to what you've been saying. It is a thing, isn't it? We've got to try and deconstruct some of the misnomers in our movement. When we use the phrase medium, we immediately think, you're up here, I've got your mother here.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. The phrase medium is that interface. So we have our evidential mediums, our philosophical mediums, our healing mediums. And healing is the basis of all our mediumships, no matter what. In the evidence, we get healing messages through the direct contact of spiritual healing, trance healing, energy healing, whatever the banner. It's all about healing. And a number of our greats of the past, who are revered today for their evidential mediumship, started their journey by becoming a healing medium. Because it's that same discipline, it's that same linking with spirit, it's that same listening to spirit. And some of those wonderful stories as well just reflect that these people, as we should do, when we work with spirit, don't limit them by I can't do that. You know what, if you tell yourself, I can't do anything, guess what? You're linked into an awesome, conscious, living intelligence, and anything is achievable by dedication, discipline, discernment, and opening yourself up to the power of spirit. So thank you, Andy. That was beautiful. We're now going to move on to our piece of music for today. If you wish to sing along, great, or listen to the words, whatever, beautiful. During which Paul will be taking the collection for the further work of this, your church. Thank you.
Peace still my soul, the Lord
wonder what Fanny Cosby makes of that rendition of her famous hymn. I bet she's loving it, absolutely. You know, in these these hymns, there are some beautiful words. You know, they're like a mini address, a mini sermon encapsulated. Andy, are you ready, sir?
Eyes ready.
As you know, please, our evidential mediumship is that conversation. You know, each and every message is a tiny miracle. You can get that confirmation that those that we've lost in the physical are there in the spiritual, and as much as a part of our lives today as they have ever been. So this requires you to engage with the Spirit, does it not?
Yes.
Oh dear. Does it not?
Yes.
There we go. Come on, this is a joy, this is a reunion. So if Andy should come to you, please clear responses with a yes, no, maybe. Please try not to, oh yes, he only had one leg and a parrot and he lived down number 46, because it's Andy's job.
That's
actually.
the first link done now.
Oh, well, there we go. It's Andy's job to give you that evidence. So Andy, sir,
Thank you.
over to you.
Yeah, bless
Thank you.
I do want to say it's something that Ori was saying earlier about that healing comes through many different ways, and I just need to ask me to leave you with this story before we get into the messages. That I used to run when I was president of the Wilton Church years and years ago, and our organist was in hospital. He'd had a stroke, so I went in to see him, and two nurses came into the room, and one was pushing the other one in the wheelchair. They were having a bit of fun, you know. I'm not sure you're allowed to do that these days, but there you go. They were, and the gentleman actually, organist, beckoned one over, and he said to the nurse, "Oh, this is the gentleman from the church I was telling you about." And she said, "Oh," she said, "I came to your church one day and I didn't get a message." I said, "Well, it happens. But my friend came and got a message, for me." And I said, "Well, that can happen as well." And I just feel as if they were feeling there was a need there within her deep. And I said, "Well, this coming weekend," I said, "we've got two gentlemen coming down. Two lovely gentlemen, Brian Gibson, who was the medium, and John Brett, who was the psychic artist." And I said, "Brian's doing sittings on the Sunday. Do you want one?" She said, "Oh," she said, I think I might be free on that Sunday. Can I let you know?" And I said, "Yeah." So, amazingly, she was free. She turned up at the church and said, "Oh, I don't want to disturb the dead." I said, "Don't worry about them. They're happy, They're likely to disturb me more than anything else, but don't worry about it. It's fine, don't worry about it." So she was apprehensive, but she went in, and she had to sit in with Brian. And when she came out, you could see she'd been crying. She'd actually lost 3 children. And Brian brought back evidence that her children were still alive, even naming all 3 of them. And she was coming out, and she was floating on air. And you could see that she'd released something. You really could. And she just said to me, "That was amazing." And then floated out the door, literally. And it was a bit like, yeah, I'll never see her again. I don't have to. Job had been done. The healing had been through for her in that way. Still amazing. But they reminded me of that one, so I needed to leave that one with you as well. Right then, okay, let's see. So we got what we got. We got gentleman, one leg, and a parrot, haven't we, so far?
Oh, he's with me.
That's right, yes.
He lived down the road.
That's right, yeah. Bless them. I'd never be surprised they wouldn't bring someone like that. Really, because they have got a wicked sense of humour, which I love. I know that from the same. Right, okay, but I know that the lady stepped in because it's a bit like, I know Mum has stepped in because I know the fact is that I've got, as Mum's blending with, I know that I'm struggling with as I'm talking with the restriction around the chest. I know with Mum it was a bit like, oh right, I've got Mum. And it's a bit like she's telling me, "Well, I wish you'd get on with it." She said, "I don't like waiting." And then I also said that, this lady wants to do, this lady's going to have everything done her way. It really is. Well, darling, can you understand this is Mum? Because suddenly I got drawn to you, which happens sometimes, you see, darling. But you can, because Mum is not, she hasn't got any patience. You understand that, darling? It's almost like, yeah, it's almost like, yes, it was like, oh God, get in there, get this sorted, get that done, And she would actually be organising people. And she was very good at it. Well, she says she was. Don't think it always went down well with people, to be honest with you. You understand that, you know, with her. But I know, as I said, that with her, it's almost like, yes. You know, she said, if her job's going to be done, then I might as well get on and organise it myself, because it will never be done to my standard and be right anyway. Bless her. We understand that with her, you know. And I know the fact is that, you know, as again, but it's not like trying to make Human out to be some sort of ogre, because she wasn't. She just, she said, there is a lighter side to me at times. You know, she said, but other times, she said, you know what life's like? She said, you know, you just got to get it sorted, haven't you? You know. And she said, oh, she said, you know, and if you're waiting for a man to do anything, then you'll be waiting forever, she said, you know. You know, hold on. Hold on, there's going to be a few fights now starting out where the women are starting to, you know, agree. Oh dear. Right? Anybody want a divorce lawyer? All right, that's fine. But I know, as I said, that, you know, that would be her, you know, really would. And but I know that your mum, my darling, also has a very dry sense of humour about her as well, you know. And I know the fact is, again, that not many people got that. They really didn't. I'm going to say the energy 3, you must be linked. Is this your grandma? Right, sir. I'm going to say, suddenly the energy sort of, you know, it was like that, you know. And it's a fact, oh, right, okay. Right, my darling. Because she's saying the fact is, because your mum is saying, you, my darling, you have got her stubbornness. Yes, yes, yes. Here we go, yeah, yeah. She's now trying to hide, going, where can I hide? Bless you. But I know within it, it's a bit like, yes. And she's saying the fact is that, but she said, you have needed that at times to get things done yourself, you know. So she said, you know, you've had to use it in that way. But in the nicest possible way, she said, but my young gentleman here, she said, is a sensitive gentleman. He is, you know. She said that I'm bringing that as a compliment, she said. She said it really is. He's got that sensitivity about him, you know. He can be stubborn himself at times. Yes, my darling. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that one's now crossed there. You're getting ganged up on now, mate. Hard luck. There's 3 of them. Hard luck, you know. But she's saying again, you know, but there is that sensitivity. She's saying that actually, you know, you know when the spirit world are around. You really do, you know. She said, but you don't shout about it, do you? No. But she said, we know. So she said, watch out, because we got plans for you. Especially if it's her, you're in trouble, mate. You know. Yeah. Put it this way: if there's a choice, you ain't got a choice. No, not with her around. Sorry, but there you go. But I know, as he said, you know, it is that encouragement for you to actually sort of investigate that side for yourself. And she said, makes a change for me not come and tell you what to do, she said, but she said, I've been told, and actually, she said, you need to find out for yourself where this will take you. There was once a great medium called Gordon Higginson, and he would actually say from the platform, I know that the spirit world are interested in you. Now go away and find out why. And that's what she's doing to you. Yeah. And the fact is, I'll get rid of her in a minute, because when she got mum, it's difficult to get rid of mum, you know, it really is, bless her. You know, she could have been here for an hour, you know, yeah. But she said, she said, the young lady sat next to you, she said, she does know what she's talking about. You need to listen to her a bit more, because he doesn't, she's telling me. No. She said yes. So you're doomed, aren't you? Really, sorry, mate. But there you go.
Everybody's moved from
That's right. They are. Yes, right. Yes. It's like the fallout, you know. But she's saying the fact is yes. She said don't just discard it. She said let it get in there and let it smell around for a while and consider it. Because she is, yeah. But bless her, she's intuitive as well. Because actually, you're empathic, my darling, and you know how he's feeling. And he can't hide from that, she's telling me. Oh dear, we better get rid of him before you know anything else. Right, okay. But I know, as I said, this is all done, as I said, it's with love, she said, you know. She said it really is, and the support, she said. You know, it's me coming to help you. She said, but if you don't do what you're told, then I'll be back again, she said, you know. I'm sure she'd be back again anyway, but, you know, but bless her. But as I said, you know, she says, yeah, she is so proud of all three of you. And she said, never did say too much about that sort of thing when I was here, no, but can do it from where I am now. So she said, lovely to see all three of you. See you soon. Look, not over there, I mean. No, no. No, that's right. Oh, sorry, yes. Yes, right, yes. Yes, she said, me visiting here. Don't worry, don't panic. Yeah. Right, okay. Okay, now everybody else is leaving because they don't want to go and talk to him.
Nobody wants a message.
No, they
now.
don't, no. They're going, can you go back to the healing, please?
Yeah.
But I gotta say, it's one of those sort of things, to me, laughter is healing. That energy of it, you know, even, especially when I'm laughing at other people, isn't it, really? Bless, you know, that sort of thing. Right, okay. But I do feel as if I've got a gentleman that's coming now, because I know there's a gentleman that's about my height, thinner of the build, and but I know, as I said, I would call him a gentleman. There is that, you know, that feeling with him, and I know that it being morals, manners, that sort of thing is very, very important to him. Can you understand this, my darling? Because suddenly again, they've zipped me down to you, but you know, and it feels like this is something very close to you. You know, it's like hubby. It's, you know, something, you know, it's, yes, you know. And I know the fact is that he's making me laugh because he's saying you can understand that he could be a little bit stuck in his ways at times. You know what I mean? He could be a bit of a stubborn old, you know, one of them, you know. Yeah, that's right, yeah. And he said the fact is, he said, you know, but again, he said the support that you gave him all the way through. Because I know he said that towards the end, there was so much you did for him. And I know he says that, you know, there is this thank you because you helped him keep his dignity. And that was, you know, that's so important. It was, and you did that so well, he said that, you know. He said, I couldn't have wished for anybody better. He said, I don't mean just at that time, but he said, just in my life, he said. Now, he's telling me, my darling, that actually, he fell in love with you as soon as he saw you.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, he said, you know, of course she was a cracker, he said. Yeah. Yeah, he's off, yeah. He's off, yeah. Yeah, he's reminiscing quite well. I'd be careful now, yeah. I'm interested to see what he's going to tell me next, darling, you know. Right, yeah, but as I said, yes. Oh, no, you can put it that way. He said, yeah, we had some fun times together.
We did.
You really did. And you went to some nice places as well.
Yes,
But
we did.
you must have gone to some dances
Yes.
as well, because it's almost like, I feel as if he loved,
He loved to dance.
he loved to dance, you know, he said the good stuff. He said, a bit more old time, he said, because he said, then I could get hold of her a bit better, he said, you know. Bless him. But he said, you know, because he said, that was graceful, he liked that.
Yeah.
You know, the waltz and those sort of things was up his street, he said, you know. And, you know, he said, you know, you remember those places we used to go to? And he said, remember they used to have those glitter balls?
Yes, it did.
Didn't they? He said, yeah. Yeah, he said, you know, cool, yeah. But he said, you know, we weren't quite up to strictly standard, but he said, we didn't do too badly, he said, you know, we didn't do too badly. But I know, as I said, that, you know, he was so sort of, again, he said, there is so much love for you. But again, he said, I never really said it enough.
That's right.
You know, he said, I didn't do emotions very well, did I,
No, you
dear?
didn't.
No. And I know he said that, you know, from that point of view, he said it was a big thing, he said, to learn, really, when I came over, because he said, yeah, I didn't. He said, I used to shy away from emotions.
That's right.
You know, yeah, you used to say he loves you to him, and he got stuck, he said, you know, bless him. But he said he did, and he always did, you know, from that point of view, you know. You were always in his heart, and you still are from that point of view, you know, from that point of view. Then I know, as I said, the fact is that, right, okay, my darling. Then he's showing me that the other day then you were listening to some music at home or something.
Yeah.
And I feel as if you did do a little bit of a, a bit of a jig, he said, He said, yeah, because he said, I was watching you. He said, she can still move it, he said. Yeah, still move it, But he was around you, and he said, again, he said, it just reminded me, and that there was a photograph of him in there as well.
Yeah,
And I think as you were jigging around, you picked that photograph up
I did.
and you danced with it. He said, I know, because I was there with you. He said, and he said, and those brought back the memories.
Yes, yeah.
And he's saying the fact is that, again, as those memories you relived in your thoughts, I lived through them with you, he said. And he said, it's so good, so beautiful. He said, and thank you for that. And again, it's a bit like, he said, it is important, he said, as you say to yourself, you keep going.
Yeah.
He said, there are some twinges and pains and,
Oh, yeah.
was it you suffers with the lower back?
Yes, you do.
You can have that back in a minute, dear. Go on down. But I know, he said, he said, that's the trouble. He said, getting old. He said, he said, you get these things. He said, so he said, again, when you sit, he said, and he said, I know. He said that it's worse when you sit for longer periods of time,
Yes,
because
it
it
is.
will, all stiffens up. But he said, we will try and bring the healing and help you,
Oh, good. Thank you.
because he said the knee ain't too good either. He said, no. He said, perhaps we better just list the bits that are good now, he said. He said it'll save time. But I know, as I said, there's humour with him as well,
Yes,
from
there
there,
is.
and bless him. But as I said, he said, we'll nick the Strictly stuff. He said, keep on dancing, he said.
Yes, yeah.
And he said, and my love with it. Thank you, bless
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you.
See, you're not safe in your own homes either,
You're
doing
not.
things. Oh, no. No. Yes, let's see if anybody else is being watched what they're doing, yes, all right. They're all noting down my name going, I'm not going there again, if he's there. He might reveal things, bless. Right, okay, right. Then I want a gentleman, again, it looks like we've got another gentleman coming in. And what he's showing me then is they're fishing rods. They're fishing rods, because I can see fishing rods, but I can see different styles of fishing rods. And it's almost like he's got these, different style of rods for different things. And it's great because I'm not a fisherman, so it's a bit like saying, no, you'll have to try and help me, because he's saying to me the fact is that he's opened up a tin that has what he called flies in them. Not the zit flies, but the normal flies for fishing, he said, But he's got a naughty sense of humour as well, and I have to be careful with him because he could get me shut down. But I know with him, he used to make his own flies as well, because it's almost like I know it's almost like a passion for it. But I feel as if again that he's got not only rods, there are reels as well. Can you understand this, sir? That's fine. It's just my energy went that way. So, can anybody understand this gentleman I've got with me at the moment? Or is it time to get in the pub? Might be time to get in the pub. Nobody understand this gentleman?
Yes, finally.
Right, then apologies for that. Can you work with me just to see how he's going to go? Because what I want to do, because it's interesting, because the energy went that direction. So, yeah. Right, let's go. Because, but can you understand, my darling, that he had different rods? Yes. Because it feels like it said, but they're for specific purposes. Yes. It's a bit like the fact is, again, that he would have the right gear for the right thing he's trying to do, right? Because he must have not only fished on rivers, but I can see, is it sea fishing as well? Yes. So no, he's telling me the fact is, again, you need different gear for that than you do for what he's saying, the river stuff, he said, He's trying to keep it simple because I know nothing about it, you see, so bless him, And also I keep to remind him, simple because he's got to get it through my head, Yeah. But I know, as I said, but it was something, it was a bit of a passion for him. Yes. It really was, because it's almost like the fact is, he's beautiful because, he's one of those sort of persons that, if you got him onto fishing, you wouldn't stop him from talking, because it's almost like he had so much knowledge about, the aspect of fishing and in the fish, you know, in when you should fish for them, in what locations you're likely to get this and that in.
Yeah.
You understand that, right? Yeah. Then apologies. I said to him, "Why are you showing me the flies?" He said, "Well, he was trying to get out of me that the aspect of different aspects for different things." So that was my fault. So I apologise for that. So I misread that one. Right, let's keep going then, my son. Yeah, here we go. But I know, as I said, but he does, as I said, I might have said this just now, but he does have a great sense of humour.
Yes.
You know, is another one who's got a dry sense of humour as well. Because I know he said that he could say something and he could keep a poker face, as he would call it. And you're going, are you joking or are you, yeah, you know what I mean, yeah. And a lot of people, he said a lot of people couldn't work me out, he said. Because he said sometimes my humour was a bit quirky, he said.
Yes.
A bit off the wall, he said. So, you know, and it's almost like, where are you coming from? Because we don't understand what you're on about, you know. But he said, then again, that was me. It really was, you know. It was a bit like, you know. And he was of a great sort of position where he'd go, this is me, you like me,
Yeah.
I ain't changing,
Yeah.
put up with it or don't. It's up to you, you know. But he would not, yeah, he was going to literally, and I don't blame him, stay the person that he was. He really was, you know. But I know the fact is, again, that with him, I feel as if then it feels like his mobility got limited later on.
Yes.
And again, he did find that very frustrating.
Yes.
He really did, because it's almost like, I cannot do what I want to do.
Yes.
And I know that within that energy is a great independence that he had, you know. And it was almost like, I know that you gave him a lot of help yourself. Because it was a bit like, he's making me laugh because he said, but she was sneaky about it, he said.
Yeah.
You were, because he said, you did it in a way that he ended up thinking it was his idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
Way to do it.
I know. He said, you were, watch out for her, mate, she's sneaky, he said. You know. Yeah.
Through experience.
That's right, yeah. But he said, but thank you for that, because he said, you know, at least then I did do the right things, even if it took you a lot of work to be able to get me to do them, you know, from that point of view. But he said, yeah, you knew me inside out, he said. And he said, you know, there was love there. He said, you know, there was. He said, you know, thankfully, he said, you love me, because he said, otherwise you wouldn't have to put up with me. Because he said, I was a pain, he said, at best of times, you know, let alone, you know, when I wasn't so well, he said, you know. But I know he said, no, but again, he's saying, all right, the fact is that, my darling, you have a good brain on you, which is something, no, he said, it's something that I appreciated from, it's a bit like, you know, you will look at things and aspects of things, he said, that other people wouldn't look at, you know. And if they're interesting to you, he's telling me, then you'll follow it through. But if you're not interested, then forget it, you know.
Yeah.
So he said, you know, he said, talking about this spiritual stuff, he said, you know stuff yourself about this sort of stuff. And he's actually telling me, my darling, you know more about this than you give yourself credit for. He said, you know, and always, you're another one, he said, that doesn't give yourself credit for the healing that you've brought to others and to me, he said. And he said, on this healing day, we wanted to remind you that it's greatly appreciated from my side of life for the work you do here. And it is noted by us. And again, he said, he'll spend the next half an hour talking about fishing. He said, if only, he said. He said, I've noticed, he said, I've been told I got to go. So, but he said, it was lovely, again, to come back to reconnect to you and love you. Bless you. Thank you. There you go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andy. That was beautiful. A few notices for the week. This afternoon from 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock we link up with our spiritist friends. Spiritism is another branch of spiritualism, and we have a wonderful guest and speaker who's come all the way from San Diego. Dr. Dan Assisi will be with us this afternoon. And he's another one. we've got this really weird energy now where we meet people for the first time. We sort of like go, oh, hello, and get to know you. When we meet people we know, it's old friends. But we're now meeting people we know from online, but we've not actually met. And it's a bit like, oh, hello. But I'm really looking forward. Dr. Dan helped us out a lot during the lockdowns with our joint ventures with the Spiritists and also with a few events coming from the church itself. So really, really looking forward to meeting this chap. More than welcome to come along. It's a lecture and workshop style presentation day. There is a donation for a food bank. So if anybody's watching at home and local to the area, come on down. We will be streaming it live as well because we're linking up with the Spiritist network in the USA and Brazil as well. Who would have thought all this from our little church in Poole, eh? How wonderful is this? So that's today. On Wednesday we will have a healing hour from 3 o'clock till 4 o'clock, which links in rather lovely with today's talk. Thank you, Andy. There'll be a talk on an aspect of healing and then hand over to our church healers. Friday night at 7 o'clock, we have a weekend with Ewan Urban, CSNU, who is coming down and staying with us from Edinburgh. So on Friday night, he'll be doing a demonstration of evidential mediumship this Friday, Dawn. Okay, not 2 days ago, 7 days early. That's how keen our people are. 7 days before it actually happens, I want to come in. So that's this Friday at 7 o'clock through till about 8:30. There is a door charge of £10. Saturday there is a workshop on evidential mediumship with Ewan. The criteria to attend that workshop is that you have that knowledge of the spirit world. Whether you want to develop that mediumship to be working publicly, privately, or for your own development and for your own enjoyment and connection, absolutely fine. That's from 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock. There's a charge for that for £40, and that includes all refreshments during the day and a light luncheon. And then Ewan will obviously be here on Saturday night to take our online Lyceum night. I haven't told him that, by the way. So thank you, Ewan, for volunteering for that. Our online Lyceum night on Saturday night, and here on Sunday morning, so a week today, to take our Divine Style service. So really busy week and meeting up with all these wonderful people. And Ewan again is another gentleman that really helped us out on the online time when we were forced. We had no other option. And we had all these amazing people go, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, it was just beautiful. So that's the notices. Andy, sir, if I may,
Yep.
for the closing blessing. Thank you.
Just know that your secrets are safe until I come back next time, all right?
You can message me.
Oh, I will, yes. Right, yeah. So again, just go into the silence and just gently close your eyes. Just to say, oh, Heavenly Father, we thank you for the love and the laughter that you've brought today, and the upliftment and the healing that this is not only spread within our little community here, but we know that as we leave, that energy will then venture out into the world. We know that in the coming weeks that we would like help and assistance where you can. And we are happy where you can to bring people into our pathway so we can help them, and perhaps they will help us as well. So we look forward to ever moving forward and your eternal love. God bless you. Amen.
Amen. Andy, thank you. Beautiful sir. I love the Lyceum. I love the empowerment it gives people. If anybody wishes to know which books Andy was quoting from, please feel free afterwards, come up and ask.
Yep.
Thank you for your demonstration. Again, just perfect.
Bless
Thank you. Thank you everybody for attending today. Do you feel uplifted?
Yes.
Brilliant, because that's what churches and centres should be. You know, it's a come and uplift and spend that time talking on a soul level with like mind. Thank you all for joining us at home. Thank you, Pauline, for your online moderating. Have a beautiful day again this time of year. Every time the sun's out, really enjoy. Thank you, Birdie. Go out and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Thank you. God bless.
Yes.
Cup of tea?
Yes, please. Black tea, please,
Black
mate.
tea?
Yep.
And sandwich.
No more, that's all.
Sure. Yeah, fine. Don't